Welcome to Inside CBN Now, where we talk about policies of the Central Bank of Nigeria that affects our daily lives. Whether you're a business owner, a student, or just curious about the economy, we are here to explain the numbers and decisions in a clear and simple way. I am Abiodun Adelore. Clean and affordable energy is essential for businesses and households to thrive. Without funding for sustainable projects, companies spend too much on fuel and electricity, slowing growth. More and more, the world is looking to green bonds as a financial option for sustainable finance. These investments reduce costs, create jobs, and strengthen industries. Today, we explore the role of the CBN in promoting green bonds and sustainable finance in Nigeria. My guest is Ota Festus, a dynamic financial consultant and quantitative analyst who combines the power of data science and actuarial modeling. He is also a certified sustainability and climate risk expert. Thank you for joining the discussion.
Thank you so much for having me.
What are green bonds and how can CBN promote the issuance of green bonds to finance projects in Nigeria?
Thank you so much for the question. Before I really dive into the definition, I think it will be good for me to give a background of the genesis of how we got to green bond and green finance and sustainable finance, right? Now, from the onset, right, scientists and physics have already noticed that our planet, the Earth, is actually gradually warming. And science has shown us that three things stands out in the warming of the climate. Number one is the energy balance, right? Normally, the energy entering into the earth from the sun, the primary source of energy for the earth is the sun, right? The energy entering into the earth, right? The earth is also supposed to reflect back that energy, right? So that there will be energy balance in the earth. But that's missing because the earth now, instead of reflecting the energy it receives, is absorbing more of this energy. That's number one. Then number two is the effect of greenhouse effects, right? There are some greenhouse gases that are present in the atmosphere, which are supposed to absorb radioactive radiations, right, from the sun. But you see the gradual depletion of this because we are releasing gases, right, that makes this atmosphere instead of reflecting, they're now more of absorbing this thing. They traps this heat, right, in the atmosphere, which is leading to higher temperature of the earth. And number three, which is the most important of all, right, is human activities, right? Now, human activities over time, because of our consumption of CO2, we are emitting more of this CO2 into the atmosphere. And this thing also, the carbon dioxide and other gases, right? They are also contributing to the atmosphere absorbing, right, more of the heat from the sun rather than reflecting it back. And of course, scientists have shown that this thing started, the timing of this warming was in the beginning of the 19th century. That was the beginning of industrial revolution. So because of this warming, many meetings have been held by international governments, right? And one of them stands up, which is the Paris Agreement. And what's this agreement? It's an international treaty by about 20 nations of the world. They gathered in a meeting, and in 2015, the agreement and the main goal of this meeting, right, was to limit global warming to below 2% degree centigrade, right, above the pre-industrial level. Meaning the pre-industrial level is the base, that's 18th century down is the base. Now we want to try and limit global warming, right, below 2%. Now, on a best case scenario, the best thing to achieve a very good climate for all of us as at 2000, that 2100 will be 1.5. So that's the agreement. Now, is on this agreement, every issue, every regulation, every policy on climate risks, on sustainability is finding its backbone and its roots on. Now, you talk of sustainable, there are many branches. So you talk of sustainable finance, talk of green finance, and you talk of climate finance. Three things meaning different things. You talk of sustainable finance. You are talking of financial activities that take sustainability into account, whether in issuing of loan or any class of assets. Then you talk of green bonds, green finance first. Now, green finance is talking of project related to environmental related risks and opportunity. That's green finance, environmental, right? Then you talk of climate. Then climate is exclusively for climate change, and that's climate change instruments, whether mitigation and adaptation, right? Now, I now come now to answer the question that was asked me. You have asked what's green bond and how can CBN promote the issuance of green bonds in finance projects in Nigeria, right? Green bonds are now bonds, right, whose proceeds are marked for environmental projects, very specific. Proceeds from green bonds are marked for environmental projects. They are rate fencing and they are issued separately, right? There's no ambiguity in green bond. Now, the principles behind green bonds, there are four principles. Number one, the use of the proceeds. It must be used for environmental projects. Number two, the process of evaluating this project, right? Number two, and number three, the management of this proceed of green bond, very important. How was this investment used? What was it used for? And number four, the reporting and the disclosure in a green bond performance, very, very important. Now, what are these kind of projects that qualifies as a green project or as an environmental project? Number one, probably renewable energy. Number two, energy efficiency, pollution prevention and control, and probably clean transport and many other likes. Right now, I think it was a double-layered question. You asked how can CBN also promote green bonds issuance in Nigeria in many ways. But number one, I'll just give two reasons here so that we can continue. Number one is by giving regulatory support, right? Giving regulatory support in that they develop clear guidelines and framework for green finance, and also they can provide incentives. They can also market infrastructure development, support the listing of these green bonds in our Nigerian stock exchange. With all these methods, the CBN can promote the issuance of green bonds in Nigerian markets. Thank you.
What policy frameworks has the CBN introduced to encourage sustainable banking and green finance?
CBN has actually have really done something quite much in this space, and kudos to the Central Bank of Nigeria, because in Africa as a whole, Nigeria is the first country that have issued a green bond, and they issued about I think 10 point something 10 billion to sponsor renewable energies and the likes. Now, policy framework that the CBN has released, number one, the one that stands out very clearly is the Nigerian Sustainable Banking Principles (NXBP). Right, it was introduced in 2012. Right, it encourages discount houses, banks, and development banks, right, to integrate environmental and social risk management into its operation, lending activities, and investment decisions. This policy is to promote responsible banking and ESG investing. It comprises of nine broad principles, right? And that's this Nigerian Sustainable Banking Principle. It combines nine principles about sustainable banking, and the document is there online, issued by from the from Nigerian authority, right? That's number one. Also, you see also green bond guidance. The CBN also have developed guidance on the issuance of green bonds and also sustainable finance policy. The CBN has also done something like a policy on sustainable finance policy. So all this framework, that's to tell you that the Nigerian government is also intentional in our adoption and in running with the Paris Agreement in meeting the goal of limiting global warming way below 2 degrees centigrade above the pre-industrial period.
In what ways can the CBN integrate environmental sustainability into credit risk assessment guidelines for banks?
Credit risk assessment can look at it in two ways. Number one, is the credit risk when you assess before you give out a loan, right? That's number one. Then number two is also when you now, right, you want to assess the risk on a portfolio of a bank. That's two way you look at credit risk. Number one, credit risk before I give out a loan, before a customer comes to obtain a loan from me, I look at it. Okay, what's the credit profile of this individual? And number two, this individual, we've already given him loan and it's already in our balance sheet. Now you look at it again. What's the credit risk? What's the expected credit loss I should recognize on this customer? Two ways. Now, how can CBN incorporate environmental sustainability into credit risk? Number one, I talk of the first leg I mentioned while assessing the customer. You can include mandatory environmental due diligence. What this project is borrowing, what will he use it to buy? Is it environmental friendly commodity or friendly investing, environmental friendly investing? So CBN should mandate banks to carry out a due diligence on the purpose of the lending. Then incorporate there's an idea called ESG investing, right? That banks must always invest in activities that should encourage, right, lending, and also disclose the kind of customers, the sectors where your loans are actually going into, right? So, mandate environmental due diligence, incorporate ESG criteria, then disclose requirements, and CBN should like that disclose requirement that, oh, these are requirements for somebody borrowing within this threshold. These are things you should look at for a project like this. You should probably somebody investing in oil and gas. You should ask them what are your mitigation plans against climate risks, what are your adaptation plans, and those things. You see those things first before you proceed to issue loan. Now, when it comes to already balances, right, loans are already in the balance sheet of a bank. Now, how do you assess them? There's this concept now that's coming up, right? Assessing climate risks, right? And integrating climate risks into enterprise risk framework. So companies are becoming mandated to assess climate risks because definitely climate risks, right? It affects your portfolio as a business. Now, let me tell you, there are two types of climate risks. Number one is transition risks, and number two is a physical risk. The physical risk is a normal, probably the physical risk is a normal rainfall, probably in hot sun during the day, that's heat and things like that. You can have tornadoes, hurricane when it's chronic, hurricane and precipitations. Now, those things indirectly or directly has a way it affects businesses. And if it affects any business you have learned to, remember, it in turn affects the credit quality of your obligors, which might cause them to default. So now we are there are regulations that demands, especially we as credit risk practitioners here, we tell our clients that you must integrate credit and climate risk into your enterprises framework as to assess liquidity of a customer, as to assess their credit worthiness, as to assess their impairment. Integrate climate risk into it to look at it holistically. That's it. In all these ways, you see that CBN could integrate environmental sustainability into climate risk.
How can the CBN collaboration with the Debt Management Office DMO enhance green bond success in Nigeria?
CBN, on the one hand, being the apex bank in Nigeria, it has a complete oversight of all financial activities in Nigeria. The second leg, debt management office, right, being the very senior principal to debt management in the country and also issuance of any debt facility, right? When you combine these two, I think it will be a very good crumble a good crumble that should strengthen green bonds success in Nigeria. These are the ways. Number one, they can coordinate policies and regulatory framework, right? The both of them they can jointly develop and craft out something so wonderful as a framework on which the green bond success in Nigeria can stand on, the both of them together, so they can coordinate policies and regulatory framework. Also, they can do a market development, right? Leveraging on CBN's power as the Apex Bank, that's the supervisory charge over the banks in Nigeria and financial sectors in Nigeria, and the DBO's expertise in issuance of debt instruments, right? When they combine it together, they can craft a very wonderful a very wonderful bond agreement that's for green bonds, right? Also, they can also help in mobilization of investors, right? You can you can encourage investors, boost their confidence, and sensitize them that, oh, green bond is something that we should go into. Green bond is the future of our investment. They can do things like that, and people will be willing to come in. CBN and Debt Management Office coming together to promote green finance and green bonds. I think it will be a very great combo for Nigerian market, for Nigerian green bond instruments.
Thank you. How does the CBN ensure that commercial banks channel credit towards eco-friendly sectors?
CBN can ensure that commercial bank channels credit that give loans or rights to eco-friendly sectors. Number one, you can set good incentives for them. What do I mean by incentive? I mean you can offer them probably good regulatory incentives, such as low reserve requirements. Why they compute the Basel ratios, right? You can you can you can you can tell them, give them good incentive. Like I know of agricultural products, the way CBN and that actually made, like, encourage Nigerians to invest in agriculture, because of course any proceed coming from agriculture, any loan that's issued to agricultural company and with that meets CBN guideline, the moratorium period and base interest rate, there's some levels of tax relief that offer to those banks. Those things can come up for environmentally friendly projects, right? They can give them set incentives and also collaborate with stakeholders, right? Monitor and report monitoring and reporting. So CBN can look into this way, especially setting of incentive, very important, right? I know of agriculture and I know of mining as it concerns that tax rate, right, is very fair, and people that has understanding of this will be interested in it. So if they can bring it down to credit towards environmentally friendly sectors, can give them tax incentives. Like CBN, when you give credit to these guys, look at what will happen. It will be tax free and probably things like that. It will encourage even the banks to lend to them, and also not just lending to them at probably with spread and every other thing. No, they can lend to them at business rates, the same way it is in agriculture. Like agricultural loans, if a commercial bank wants to enjoy the leverages of investing in agriculture, it must be done at base lending rates and to some good moratoriums. So those are the things they can bring in into eco-friendly sectors.
What measures can the CBN take to make green investments more attractive to Nigerian investors?
CBN, the measures they can take to make green investment very, very attractive. Number one, first of all, is to promote awareness, right? In those days when I started my career, I started in marketing, right? And one of the slogan we used to use was availability, that's availability, accessibility, and visibility, right? In order for people to patronize any product, the first thing is that the product must be available. Let it be visible. Let it be accessible, right? So number one is to promote awareness of this green bond. Of course, if people, the general public knows that, oh, this is what this thing will do for us as humans, This is the kind of thing, the goal, the ambitious goal, the parish goal we want to achieve. I'm sure many of the people does not know about this agreement. If they are aware, right, everybody can collaborate together and work towards it. Measures CBN can take to make green finance more attractive to Nigerian investors. Number two, they can provide tax incentive like the same way they provide to the bank that issued credit to eco-friendly sectors. The same way investors that invest in these green bonds and these things, CBN should also CBN can guarantee green bonds like a bond that is issued by a private probably a green bond that is issued by a corporate, right? In order to boost investors' confidence about the bond, CBN can guarantee it and say, oh, we are guaranteeing this bond that at the instance of default, we will step in and make sure that all obligations that are assigned to these bonds will fulfill them, right? They can facilitating market access, help those people issuing these bonds, like listing of this bond in the stock exchange so that it can easily get to this investor, let it appear on the stock exchange and things like that. Encourage institutional investors, very important also.
How can the CBN monitor the impact of green bond proceeds? How can the CBN monitor the impact of green bond proceeds on Nigeria's climate goals?
Green bond, they can monitor this, right? One of the major backbone of the T that tax us for financial and climate risk disclosures, right? One of the major backbone is monitoring and reporting, right? So CBN is required to carry out that mandates these banks that they should have a regular reporting, right? Okay, I'm just trying to check my device is almost going away. All right, regular reporting, right? And also they should set clear matrices to assess them, right? Because reporting is very important. Like when I started, I said one of the principles of this green finance is management of proceeds, right? You should monitor how these proceeds are used, right? There should be a clear guideline as you issue these bonds, right? Number one, you have use of proceed. Number two, you have process of evaluating the project. Number three, you have management of this proceed. They should have a clear guideline documented on how these proceeds will be managed, on how this proceed will be used, and also there should be reporting and disclosure. The major thing in market as an investor, the good thing they want to say about any business is the disclosure aspects of the business. And also CBN can also conduct independent audits. It will also help it will also help to boost market confidence.
It's time for Now Streetwise, where we go out into the streets to find out what Nigerians think about CBN and its responsibilities.
Have you ever heard of green bonds?
No. I've not heard of that. But I think something maybe it sounds familiar, but
about clean energy, we are saying now, very okay, very nice, because whatever you have in your house, maybe you are using something in your house, like when you have solar panel energy, you have solar completely. Solar energy is very nice. Number one, about fuel using. Now this is for scarcity, little small now. That's what I mean. So when somebody gets solar energy, so you don't need of thinking of the fuel or thinking of the whatever or gas. That's what I mean. And then very cheaper, because whatever electricity for now, no matter they bring bill for you like let's say 15,000, 40,000, like that, like solar. When you buy solar, no matter solar be, if just a 2-bedroom like this, if you get like a 1 point something or 800,000 naira, you can get it. That's why I want to use AC. If you don't use AC, no matter what next, when somebody get television, fan and light,
Do you know anything about clean energy and why it is important?
Clean energy is very important because we are talking about solar, electric vehicle, and so on and so on. And even though it will reduce this, what can I say, the pollution, the air pollution, it will reduce that. So the government can invest in that. It will help our business also to grow faster, and to help us in the reduction of the production of goods and other things. So I think that will be okay if government can invest more in that, so that it will benefit for the masses, for everybody, both local and international, and every household to also, I think it's very advisable for government to go into that.
Would you support policies that help you reduce the cost of running your business and also protect the environment?
I will support that policy because if the government came into our head, and also the producer, I mean the manufacturer and the other small scale industry, we will support that. It will reduce the cost of their production and everything. I think this government have their major role to play on this, and that will also affect on our economy to be more growth. So I think that is okay. That is okay. I think that is okay. And it will be better.
So when government says, even this solar energy for our government now, that's what I mean. If government want to help each other, that's what I mean. Let's government getting the solar for every houses, whatever. Or maybe one building like this, they give you like a 2 solar. You will know how to manage it. Or that's what I mean. So by that time, you can help someone. No light, light you don't go. But for now, say we see thank God. For now, electricity say we don't get improved.
Welcome back from Now Streetwise. What are your thoughts on Nigerians from Now Streetwise?
Thank you so much. I think I enjoyed the powerful and wonderful comments, right, about green bonds, about renewable energy and sustainable finance, right? And one thing stands out that I want to call attention to. Somebody made mention of actually the definition of sustainability, right? And it's defined about like humanity meeting its current needs without overburdening natural environment or future generation. So it's very important. We must take it to heart that as we meet our current needs today, we must be mindful of our children tomorrow. As we meet everything about today, we must be very careful of what about tomorrow? How will tomorrow look like? Today, you want to eat everything and destroy the ecosystem. What about tomorrow? Very, very important. And this is the backbone of everything as it comes to finance. And that's the summary of what everybody that has spoken have said. Now, another second issue, the second lens we should look at this from also is ethical dilemma, right? What do I mean by ethical dilemma? Now, it's one of the ethical matters as it comes to this climate policy and climate issues, right? That people will always fight about, right? Number one, remember, people will argue that the Western world, the Europes, China and Germany, Russia, right? They were the one that contributed majorly, right, to these things we are saying human activities have increased warming. They're the one that contributed to it during the Industrial Revolution, right? Now, it's not time for Africa now to enter into our industrial revolution to start our production, our consumption of fossil fuel, and they are not telling us, no, you must match brick. And where are we going to meet this industrialization? How are we going to get there? Is an ethical dilemma, is an ethical issue, right? Opposite sides, they have good arguments for it, right? It's time for us to make progress, to use fossil fuel to develop our country, to develop Africa, but they are not telling us that we must have a kind of credit quota that we must meet in the next 100 years. So it's an ethical dilemma. Thank you.
Thank you for joining the discussion.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, Nigerians, our viewers and our listeners. Thank you.
My guest is Ota Festus, and we have been discussing CBN role in green bonds and sustainable finance in Nigeria. Before we come to the end of today's program, Here is a quiz for you. What policy frameworks has the CBN introduced to encourage sustainable banking and green finance? What policy frameworks has the CBN introduced to encourage sustainable banking and green finance? Send your answers starting with Inside CBN Now to the WhatsApp number 0809 682 2595. 0809 682 2595. The first correct answer gets a prize. Thanks for being part of the program today. Until next time, I am Abiodun Adelowore.